is the kingdom. Yours is the glory. Yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever you reign. Yours is the kingdom. Yours is the glory. Yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Hope for Prisoners Tuesday night huddle up, where we get together every Tuesday evening just to connect and grow and invite some of the most amazing leaders in our community to come and share stories and leadership principle with you. I want to say hello to all our family and friends watching on Facebook Live from around the world. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. We know that you could be any place else on the planet, and you carved out the time to be here with us tonight. Want to say hello to our friends in Casa Grande, Nevada Department of Corrections that are streaming live. Can everybody say hello to them right now? Thank you guys so very, very much for being here this evening. As we get things underway, we have an absolute amazing speaker, leader that's going to be here joining us tonight to share the story. And I promise you, she's not only a dear friend, but she's one of the greatest leaders in our community that I know. But I want to open up in same fashion and ask if anybody has any testimonies they'd like to share. Something has happened in your life, whether you got reconnected with a family member, whether you got a really, really good job, you completed training, or anything like that that you could share with us as a part of an encouraging word. That would be amazing. Go. Okay, come on up. You stand up and just right there and tell us about it. Give me 1 second. My guy's telling me to bring you the mic, so I have to.
How y'all doing? I'm Julius Cook. I was incarcerated, and when they released me, I just went out that whole day looking for a job. And the next day, Pizza Hut called me and gave me a job. So I've been working for 2 weeks at Pizza Hut, and actually tomorrow I get done with training and I actually start working at night. So I'm all the way locked in now, and I thank God for it.
Congratulations. I know Pizza Hut knows that they have a tremendous asset in you. Anybody else? Testimonies? Something like to share? Something that's happened in your life going once? Come on. Sand, I'm gonna pass you the microphone.
Okay. All right. My name is Charlene Bell, and I just completed Northwest Career College. Thanks to Hope for Prisoners. I can't. Yes, you guys paid my tuition out. Thanks to Hope for Prisoners. Paid my tuition. But I got out of prison last April, and I came straight to Hope. I had heard about Hope all inside. And so I was out 2 weeks. I came straight into a workshop, and everything in my vivid vision, I'm going to start crying. Everything in my vivid vision has come true. I go to court in 2 weeks on the 15th for full custody of my daughter who was in CPS. So that's good. And I've been gainfully employed the whole time. I got a promotion, and now I'm looking into getting something with phlebotomy. So you guys have been great. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to recap a couple of things that you said. So not only did you say you finished school at was it Northwest Career, and we paid for it, but you gave the gigantic testimony of being, you're getting your kids back in your life.
Yeah, my daughter was in foster care,
Yep,
My mother
yep.
passed away, but yeah, she's been living with me since May.
Okay.
The case will be closed August 15th.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I love it when we have those, when somebody's able to share that story, because a big piece of what it is that we do is family reunification. And we know that there are so many women specifically coming out of Florence McClure, and, you know, they want to get the kids back, and we tell them, make sure you get up on your own feet and stand on your own 2 feet, right? Your own foundation, so that when the kids come back into your world, they're coming back into your world. And did you say that you worked full time as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me get this right. All right, because I don't want anybody to miss this, specifically those of you who are sitting in Casa Grande right now, that she just completed Northwest Technical phlebotomy. So you were going to school and at nighttime and working full time in the daytime. You know what you remind me of? Somebody told me a long time ago, because a lot of people they're not willing to put in those sacrifices because it's hard working full time, going to school, but you did it. Somebody told me a long time ago, if you live like nobody else today, you'll live like nobody else tomorrow. And you are doing it. Give her another hand for that. That is so awesome. Any other testimonies? Something somebody'd like to share? Magnificent. Okay, yes, sir. Let me pass the mic back to you.
My name's Robert Kirk. I was released from prison, Southern Desert, Indian Springs, last year, March 19th. I came in to go to the Excellence Medical Group, and as I came out the elevator, of course, there was the Hope for Prisoners sign, and it was definitely a sign. So I came in to check it out. At first, I thought it was kind of a gimmick, you know, and I try to do things my way to make things work for me. And I would get to a certain point and then I would fall back down again. I didn't have the stability or the foundation in myself that I needed. And when I immersed myself back into the program just recently, by the grace and by the network of Hope for Prisoners, Earl said I already thanked you this morning for it, but he turned me on to a good job. He submitted a resume for me at Collet Manufacturing, and out of the blue, I was given a call, and I'm like, why am I getting a call? I didn't even submit an application to this place. What the heck is going on here? And that was Earl and Marche working for me, and you know, I was looking at being homeless. My living situation is switched up. I have to be moved out by the 5th, and by the grace of God and Hope for Prisoners, I am not going to be homeless. I am working. I will be working Monday full time, 40 hours a week, good wage, sustainable wage, life. Not trying to do it my way, and turning over the reins. I finally got frustrated enough to say, Marche, my way ain't working. Just do it. Do it. I will do whatever I need to. I will do whatever it takes. And today has been a pivotal point, and I can feel the change coming in my life because of Hope for Prisoners.
Man, that is so awesome. Man, thank you so very, very much. You can't even make this stuff up, right? I think that that one of the things that I heard you say this, that, you know, one of the things that we have to make sure that we always do is be humble enough to ask for help, right? Always be able to humble enough to ask for help. And if I could be transparent, right? You look at Jon Ponder. You think Jon Ponder got it together? No, I don't. I don't. But I know how to surround myself with people that are getting the results that I want to get out of life, and always ask for help in everything that I do. So I applaud you for that. I'm so grateful that you're plugged in with one of our partner employers, Collet Manufacturing. Big shout out to Dan Mitchell over at Collet. There's a couple of people in this room here that's plugged in with Collet, but we're very excited for you. We might have time for one more before we dive into our awesome speaker. We got two more. I'm going to come over to you first, and then I'm going to come over to her. You, sir. I'm going to give you the microphone. I get to stay on the camera over here.
My name is Jordan Hill. 2016, I was arrested not even a mile from here on Rancho. Multiple warrants, multiple charges, and, thinking shadow people were chasing me. Went into jail, caught another charge, battery on a prisoner, and I was looking at some serious time. Found myself in the hole. And it was there that I, made a deal with God and asked. I think all of us have made that prayer, help, please help, those trench prayers, but this time I meant it, and it came from the bottom of my heart and somewhere that I didn't know existed, but I didn't think it'd be answered, and I was hopeless. I had zero hope, and I thought I was gone, and somehow I was able to go into a program called the Serious Offenders Program, and it's there that I was introduced to Hope for Prisoners and AA and different communities. I got myself involved in a church. I don't know about you guys, but I struggled with the concept of a God for a little while until I started to see threads of hope that were not of my doing being sown into my life over and over and over and time after time. And they didn't come easy. I had to fight. I didn't have any money when I got out. I put myself into a sober living home. I took the first job that I could, which was a landscaping job. I was the only one that spoke English. I was riding my bike 6 miles every day up to work in Summerlin and back down every day. And then I'd have to go, and I was on house arrest, so I'd have to go all the way back to the east side of town on like a 3-hour bus ride all the way back and do it again 5 days a week. I decided to go to school, and I graduated with my associates, and I decided I wanted to do more, and I went for nursing school. I was turned down by my university because of my criminal record, and Hope for Prisoners helped me gain entry into Roseman University. It's there I completed my bachelor's degree. And I thought everything was good, and I graduated, and then it came to getting state licensed, and the state would not license me due to my background. So I had to go to the State Board of Nursing, and I had multiple board hearings. I had multiple phone interviews. And when they look back at my record from 2016 to 2021, well, 2022 when I graduated, they saw a different person. And you know what? I didn't have to be ashamed. I told every single person on that board my past, and not one of them looked at me different. If anything, they looked at me like I was a success for the first time in my life. And that's how it is now. I can go up to people and I can share my story without being ashamed, without feeling guilty. And, I think that all of us here have a story that people who have had, we'll just say, like an easier life don't have. And I think that is extremely powerful. And believe it or not, right now I'm trying to get a nursing job in Clark County Detention Center. Hey, I went to a security meeting there, and I was walking around there with the police, our friends, right? Man, I'm not gonna lie. My first couple meetings here, when we had to say that, our friends, I don't even think I said it, man. I think I mouthed it, because I was just. But through the interactions with Hope, seeing police officers in places like AA, church, and other places. They're just people like us. And so I am trying to get a job in the jail. I've been hired through the contracting agency, but I'm having trouble with custody now. So it's just battle after battle after battle. And what this place teaches you is to not give up, you know, because back then, as soon as I hit a wall or I hit a dead end, I was running, I was back and doing what I used to do. And I would give up. And, you know, I thought that I was, when I would say, you know, F it, I thought that that was like the manly thing to do, but it wasn't. I was a coward, you know? And now I can sit here and I can fight for what I want. And I have people to back me, like Marche and Jon and this organization. And yeah, if I could give anyone advice, it's take it serious. You know, there's a lot of people that are going to try and say that it's not worth it, that you can't, or maybe you feel like you can't, or that you're not worth it. But if you put one foot in step of the other every day, and you keep, you know, solid people around you, I mean, you really can. I mean, I've seen guys in here start businesses. You know, they have goals like getting on TED Talks. I was there when President Trump came and shook every graduate's hand. Like, that's powerful, man. When I see the police officers, and, you know, I'll kind of go up to them, and I won't say I bang on them, but I'll, you know, you guys heard of hope? Yeah. You know, I'm a hopeful. And I mean, and they go from, like, you know, kind of their regular demeanor to just disarmed and smiles, you know, and they embrace you. And, like, that's powerful to me. And I'm just grateful for the program. And I'm glad that we're doing in-person huddles again, because I think this is like our bread and butter. So.
Proud of you, man. Can we give him a gigantic hand for that? You know, he's saying all those things, that tenaciousness, that's never given up, and keep going. Very, very proud. Don't be too concerned that you have an issue with custody, because I have an issue with custody too, and I've been pardoned. Just kidding. That was a joke. Hey, listen. So we have, was it people over in Casa Grande? All right. So I guess we have somebody over Casa Grande have a comment. Who's over in Casa Grande? Is that Suzuki? All right, Suzuki. Would you have somebody, or whoever it is, have them step up, tell us their name, and what is that testimony they like to share? Are they on mute? All right, there you go. We hear you now.
How you doing, Jon?
I'm outstanding, man. If I was doing any better, I think somebody trying to set me up.
All right, look, my name is Philip Robinson. I'm over here at Casa Grande, and Friday we attended was it Guys for Prisoners? Guys Behind Bars.
Yes.
And yeah, it was a nice program. I enjoyed it. I got to meet Kurt Franklin. We got up in front of 12,000 people. They prayed for us. I was nervous, and I just want to say thank you. And I enjoyed the program. That Friday before we went, I went to 2 job interviews, and I actually got hired for both of the jobs, but I picked one. And I just want to say thank you, and God bless everybody.
Man, God bless you too. Thank you for sharing. He said he had 2 job offers, and he had the choice between the 2. Man, thank you so very, very much. Want to give a big shout out to my friend Jake Bodine over at Guy Behind Bars. And thank you for the great work that you guys are doing, not only inside Nevada Department of Corrections, but in prisons across this country. I think it's time for us to go ahead and get things underway as we invite up our speaker. And you guys are going to be absolutely blown away. And when I tell you that, hands down, she is by far one of the greatest leaders in our community. After she gets done speaking, you will understand why. And I'm going to read her bio. And I'm talking about my dear friend, Danielle Pieper Chio. So Danielle Pieper Chio was born and raised. Yeah, give it up for her. She was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. She moved to Whittier, California, and attended Whittier College. After college, she volunteered at a child abuse service team, at the Child Abuse Service Team in Orange County, California, CAS, which is a multidisciplinary team made up of law enforcement, nurses, therapists, and social workers. CAS's mission is to reduce the trauma for child victims during the investigations of their abuse. Danielle found her passion for helping others through her volunteer experience. After it was after this experience she decided to go to law school and became an advocate for victims. In the year 2000, Danielle was admitted to law school and graduated in 2003. After graduation, she moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. In fact, Danielle and her mother both went to law school at the same time. Her mom graduated. Yeah, that was a big round of applause there. Her mom graduated from UNLV Boyd School of Law. Danielle decided to move to Las Vegas to be closer to her mom. In 2003, after graduation, she was hired by the city of Las Vegas as a deputy city attorney. While she was there, she prosecuted domestic violence and DUI cases. In 2005, she accepted a position with the Clark County District Attorney's Office, where she honed her craft as a litigator and a general litigation team. In 2009, she moved to the Special Victims Unit, handling sexual abuse, physical abuse cases involving minors and children. In 2011, she was moved to the gang unit. A year later, she was promoted to the team chief of the gang unit. Danielle has tried over 50 felony jury trials, beginning justice to hundreds of victims. Danielle's experience has allowed her to work with various organizations, including Hope for Prisoners, the Nevada Department of Corrections. Yes, give her a hand for that. The Nevada Department of Corrections. Nevada Department of Parole and Probation, to find alternatives to incarceration. Danielle has also participated in a joint study with the UNLV, the University of Cincinnati, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and the Nevada Department of Parole and Probation to reduce crime in Las Vegas. With a career settled, Danielle got married in 2017 to an awesome rock star guy. Man, he's like my hero. I look up to him. And became an instant mom to two wonderful stepdaughters, in Naya and Kaylin. Danielle's nearly 29-year career has enabled her to achieve her dream of being a voice for victims, and her life is now complete with her family. After 29 years in Las Vegas, Danielle feels like she is home. If you guys would please put your hands together for my dear friend, Danielle Pieper Chio.
Thank you. I think I'm good.
All right.
Ooh, I hear myself. That's
Nope,
scary.
I got you.
Hello. So you said so as the team chief of the gang unit, I'm going to say it's okay to bang Hope. So when you see a cop, just tell him that. Hey, Danielle said it was okay to bang Hope. I'm hopeful. Thank you very much, Jon. So I am the master of my fate and the captain of my soul. Those are the last two lines of a poem that William Ernest Henley wrote. The name of the poem is Invictus, and essentially Invictus stands for unconquerable or undefeated. Mr. Henley, at a young age, had a disease that sort of took one of his legs away from him. And he was at a crossroads as a young person trying to figure out how he was going to get through life. That poem was also the inspiration for Nelson Mandela, who went from being prisoner to president of South Africa. Many of you in this room, as well as in Casa Grande, are at a crossroads. You may not be sure how to handle the next part of your life. You're struggling with things that come up. You feel like you keep hitting roadblocks. You're not sure how to sort of maneuver the rest of what's going to happen. And I can understand that because, although Jon dated me a little bit, 25 years ago, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I had graduated from college and I actually thought I was going to get married. So I thought, I don't really need to take school seriously. That relationship didn't work out. I tried to find a job and I couldn't find a job, which was pretty depressing because I was like, I'm educated, I speak fairly well. How come I can't get a job? What's wrong with me? Why can't I overcome this? So I called my mom, and I was raised by a single mother. My father was an alcoholic and a drug addict. He had served his time in custody. And I will tell you, as a child of somebody whose parents were in custody, we always have hope, and we will always hold out hope that you will be okay. No matter what you do, we will always love you. No matter what mistakes you made, we will always love you. So just know that. I always loved my dad, even though we had a very difficult relationship. But I called my mom and I said, I'm not sure what to do. I'm at a crossroads. I'm not sure how to figure this out. And so she suggested that I volunteer my time and give back. Now, anybody that's been raised by a single mom knows that when they suggest something, what they're telling you is, you better volunteer your time, right? Because I'm calling you every couple of days, and I'll call the program to see if you're actually involved in it. So I ended up kind of looking at programs, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, how I could do this, how I could give back. And the one thing that's hilarious is, as a child, I was very quiet. And my mom prayed to God and said, please, please, Lord, help her find her voice. When I was a teenager, my mom said to God, not only have you answered my prayers, but I'd like the voice to stop completely. Right? Because I was the child that constantly tested the boundaries. I tested everything she said. I was grounded for 3 months at a time for a whole year. You would have thought after the second time I would have learned my lesson. My mom took the TV out of our house. We didn't have a phone. I wasn't going out. I mean, I was not listening, right? And she, like a parent, like everybody in here, held the reins. So I volunteered at CAS, which Jon talked about. And while I was there, I looked at what everybody was doing, right? So you have child advocates, you have CPSs there, you have therapists, you have medical personnel that will actually perform the exams on the children. And this is how CAST works. A child reports that they have been sexually abused and they need to be a minor to come to the facility. They then come to the facility, sort of all the advocates there start their work. There's a police officer that then comes into the room. It's like a two-way mirror and starts interviewing them. And every now and then I would see somebody that would kind of come in, ask some questions and leave. And so one day I asked her, who is that person? And they told me she works for the Orange County DA's office. And I said, what does she do? And I actually asked that lady if I could go with her to court. And so what I saw was that she lent a voice to those who had no voice. Because most children have a very difficult time going into the adult system and testifying, right? One of the things about the criminal justice system is whether you're a child or an adult, we treat you the same, right? You have to get on and you have to testify because the Constitution essentially says that you have a right to face your accuser. And at the end of the day, while most people don't think as a prosecutor I defend the Constitution, I believe in the Constitution. It's important, and I do not want to redo cases because somebody's rights get violated, and that includes you. So I watched that and I thought, I think I want to be her, right? So I asked her some questions and she said, well, you have to go to law school. And I was like, first roadblock. Because I barely graduated from high school. And as I told you, I thought I was going to get married in college to my college sweetheart. So I thought school was like, I could just get C average, right? So I was like, okay, I have to take the LSAT. That's a test that doesn't measure anything. That's what I'm going to tell you, okay? Doesn't really measure anything. I eventually got into law school after working for a while, and I hated it because everybody in there wasn't like me. I was older than everybody else. I had no understanding of what they were doing because essentially you're learning all theory. I'm not theory-based, right? You tell me how this is going to apply to my life and I'm going to give you the answer. But it was a means to an end to what I needed to go through in order to essentially do what I wanted to do. I graduated from law school. I got a job at the city attorney's office. And let me tell you something about law. And I'm going to try and be delicate and nice. It's male dominated. So you women out there understand, in a male dominated world, nobody really wants to hear from me, right? Nobody really appreciates how I see things. So I had to use a different skill level than most people. And I usually used humor. Because at the end of the day, you have to be honest and assertive, but you got to get your point across too, right? I'm not going to get run over because you think that just because I'm a female, I'm going to take it. So eventually I got into the district attorney's office. I then, as you heard, went to general litigation. I then realized my dream and got on the sexual assault unit. And there I met children that I had, similar to how I had worked with earlier before. I realized I was sitting across from the table from 10, 12, 13, 14-year-olds who had to get up and testify. And what I would say to most of them is, you are at a crossroads. You have an opportunity to speak your truth in the courtroom. You're never going to be able to change people's minds sometimes. So that's not why you're testifying. You're testifying because you want to speak your truth. Because it's your moment to stand up and say, I want to be heard. This is what happened to me. Whether a jury believes you, whether the judge believes you, whether the defense believes you, really doesn't matter. Your testimony is your strength. This process is your strength. Because one of these days in life, you're going to look back and you're going to be at another crossroads. And you're going to think, how can I get through this? How can I take one step at a time to get through the process that I need to get through? And you're going to realize at a young age you were brave. You were braver than some adults, because I've handled adult cases and some women just will not testify. You are brave and you can do this. And you can take one step in front of the other. You can get through the process and you can become the master of your fate, right? So I look at many of you today. My husband, actually, which is why Jon gave him a good shout out, used to be a mentor in this program. And he told me how he actually was changed by the people in this room. So what I say to you is this. It is going to be a difficult climb, as you know. But this program gives you the basis to overcome whatever it is that you have. You are at a crossroads. It takes the strength and courage. You're going to be asked to do things that are uncomfortable, right? I went to law school with people that I didn't even understand what they were saying because the language was archaic and old. But I needed to go through that in order to know that I could overcome other things in the profession that I was going to face. I had to know that it was my strength that was going to help me to overcome. So I want to congratulate you on going through the program, on working through, and say, become the masters of your fate and the captains of your soul. And with that, thank you for your time. Was that too short?
Yes.
Everyone's like, sorry. You can ask me more questions. How's that? Oh, come on. Somebody's got to have a question. I don't have any joke. This is the joke I have. So Jon said, I felt at home in Las Vegas. I had reached what I wanted to reach, and I was, right? I had reached the pinnacle of, I have 6 more years left. I'm almost done with my career. And then I decided to do something. I felt a call to action. And so I'm actually running for judge, which is tough. It's tough. And I actually would love to do a Hope Court, but we need to get from here to there. Thank you. But we need to get from here to there. Yes, you were going to ask a question. No? Come on, somebody's got to ask me a question.
What's your preparation going to be like preparing to be a judge?
So here's what I think the difference is, right? My experience, let me back up and say this. I'm an advocate. As a prosecutor, I'm an advocate. As a judge, you're not an advocate, right? You need to be neutral and detached. One of the reasons I decided to run later in my career is because I felt that my experience was going to help me with that, right? When I first got into this field of being a prosecutor, right, I loved it. It was great. You're doing this, that, and, like most young prosecutors and most young people, you see people not in 3 dimension, right? You think you committed a crime, you did something bad, there has to be a price to pay for that. As you move through your career, right? And I knew that it was different because of my family background. But what I realized is people make mistakes. And sometimes the mistakes that they make are the highest mistake that nobody ever wants to make, right? But is made. So I realized that rehabilitation was important because I had rehabilitation and redemption in my life. I may not have committed a crime, but if my mom didn't love me in the way that she loved me and said to me, you're worth it, which is why we're going to spend a whole year together every single night, every single weekend, right? And if she didn't give me that opportunity and other people throughout my life didn't help me, then I wouldn't be standing here today, right? I may be sitting there. So what I realized is I needed the experience of being a prosecutor and understanding how to try cases. But I also needed to understand another part of the criminal justice system, right? Which is redemption and rehabilitation. A lot of people, I think, talk about that concept, and it's very popular right now. But redemption and rehabilitation is a lot of work. And there are very few people that are willing to put their name on the line, like Mr. Ponder, and follow through. He stood up here and he said, there are times when I need help, right? And so I surround myself by those people who can help me get there. And all of us are in sort of that stage. I think as a judge, my hope is that when I'm elected, I am going to be able to balance that and help people. I prosecute young people that commit violent crime. And most people in this community are afraid to help those people, right? Because they're afraid that, hey, if I put my name behind you and it doesn't work out and you go out and do something, then now I look bad. Maybe true, right? But people have free will. So they're going to make their own choices. I realize in running for judge and winning, I'm going to be able to help those people, right? Because for me, it's a passion. I've worked with them and people go, well, you prosecuted them. And I said, that's right. But when I want to get them into a program, I'm the person that calls for that program. Because nobody's going to answer the defense attorney's call. I mean, somebody may answer a defense attorney's call, right? But if I call, they're going to answer the DA's call. I realized that there are no programs like that to help people because people are afraid or it costs money or there's just a lack of resources and knowledge on how exactly to do that. Because I've already worked in a system that has that, my hope is that when I take the bench, I will be able to kind of work through that quicker than most people can. Because I know what it's like to try and work through the criminal justice system from a different position than you all, but it's still part of that system and it's tough, right? I mean, there are times when I'm frustrated with the Department of Corrections because I'm calling them going, hello, did you forget about me? Right? Because They have their own systems in place and their own ideas about what they want to do. And so I think part of it is communication, part of it is the credibility, right? It's like, I've worked in the system. I understand what's going on. I'm not a novice to it. But I also understand that people can make a choice and they're going to make mistakes, because I did. I can't expect to give you an opportunity and then the first time you make a mistake say, well, I mean, you know. Maybe as a young prosecutor you do that, right? But as you move through the system, you have to kind of, because people are human. Yes.
Let me ask, if you know, it's pretty obvious that the state here has an issue with behavioral health and things of that nature. What do you see coming down the road as far as funding to enhance that? I mean, I think the largest facility we have for a behavioral health hospital is in Reno. It's only 95 beds. Do you see anything coming down to help more to the people that are committing things, maybe with the issues that they do have they're struggling with, that they can't seem to break? Does that make sense?
It's a loaded question.
I know. I'm not within the news agency. I'm just asking.
So here's what I think, right? I actually thought you were going to say the largest mental health facility was the Clark County Detention Center.
Well, that is.
So I thought you were gonna say.
And I know from experience.
You know, I don't know what the answer to that. You know, the mental health problem or behavioral health is a large issue to tackle. I think a lot of people have tried, a lot of politicians, you have lawmakers, and you have different pieces of the puzzle that actually have to come together. My husband actually went to Houston, Texas, because Houston has a program where actually if somebody is having a mental health issue, they actually respond with the police officers. So they have a therapist that actually respond. And so they're specially trained and they do this, you know, this whole thing. That's a very expensive program because on this, you know, if you just think about the mental health issue, that's very expensive for training. If you think on the liability issue, which every lawyer will, that gets very expensive as well because they're insurance issues, right? One person's trained as a police officer that's responding and one person isn't. So I think it's a big issue to tackle. I think part of the way you have to tackle, like you tackle anything in life, is you got to take it at kind of small pieces and then slowly do it. Part of the issue is always going to be funding and money, right? That's always the issue that we're going to have. And it's finding partners that can help us in the community with doing that. You know, I made the joke to somebody, well, everyone's up for election, so now's the time to ask. Lots of promises. Sure.
I'm going to be like Phil Donahue and start passing the mic around.
I was just wondering because I went to court for a family member yesterday.
Uh-oh.
And it's like people get put in prison for a drug use. Okay, so they do commit a crime, but they have a drug problem. So they should go to a rehab instead of prison. Child abuse, they need counseling and etc. But I don't understand, why do people get incarcerated for things they need help with? Okay.
I think a lot of it's going to depend on the facts and circumstances of the case, right? And part of it is, so as a prosecutor, I can't talk to you, right? Or I can't talk to the defendant, right? I can't go up to them and go, hey, what's the issue? What's happening here? Sometimes I can, if the defense attorney is there and they allow me to do that. But I can't talk to a defendant about the issues that they may be going through. I need their advocate to tell me what those issues are. Depending on the facts of the case, right, it's going to help me determine what happened. So it all depends. You know, there was a big thing about, you know, the district attorney's office is putting people in prison just because they have minor drugs on them. So we actually dug down and we found out that the 16 cases that the legislature were using where people were actually on probation for an offense, picked up another offense, which may be drug related, and then that sent them to prison. Well, my response to that is, okay, but is the picking up of the new offense, that is something that's going to send you to prison. right? But then you were on probation, so we can try and help you, but like drug court and all those other types of things. Sometimes I am baffled at the people that don't get into drug court and co-offending court. Baffled. Because I put somebody who I personally put my name behind to say she needs to be in this court, and the judge told me no. So then we put her in, tried to put her in this other court, and the judge told me no. And I finally said, what the is it going to take for us to get help? So a lot of it is communication in the system, right? I'm not sure whether your friend's attorney had spoken to them. Maybe they had, and maybe that DA in their discretion from whatever they saw and whatever they looked at made that decision.
No, it was a case before it was called, and the man stood up, and the judge was like, "Well, you didn't check in with Hope for prisoners who continuously using drugs. You got caught in a possession of a stolen vehicle," and he's still trying to tell the judge, "I have a drug problem. I have a drug." She said, "You also have a theft problem." So I was like, "Okay, well, maybe he needs drug court. Maybe he needs rehab." So I'm like, maybe if he seek help for his addiction, he'll probably put through or overcome his addiction. But she sent him to prison. I'm like, well, maybe he's still going to be using in there, and then he still's not going to rectify his behavior.
Some of it may be the criminal record that the judge is looking at, right? Because one of the things that I've heard a lot, right, is I need help, I need help, I need help. Then I get them help and I go, what happened? And they're like, no. So then, part of it is, so there's things we may not know, right? By looking at the facts of the case, looking at their underlying history, look at maybe he's had probation 14 times and the judge is like not saying that out loud. Like, look, resources are limited. And so if you're not going to take advantage of those resources, then you put me in a position as a judge to do something I may not want to do. That judge may not have explained it in that kind of way. It's a little, I'm second guessing because I'm kind of not knowing all of the facts. Does that make sense?
No, it made sense. It made a lot of sense. My opinion of the situation is I think she should have gave him I don't know how many chances she gave him already. But like she said, you didn't check in with Hope for prisoners. You ain't check in with all these stipulations. So why not give you a trip?
And I have put a bunch of people in Hope for Second Chances, which is what the district attorney's office had. So.
And we're going to talk about that Hope for Second Chances in a little bit.
Okay.
But I just want to open up to everybody who may be watching Facebook Live. If you have any questions or comments that you might have for our friend Danielle Chio, please drop them into the chat line. Chat is monitored that. We're going to go over to Casa Grande. If you guys have any questions that you would like this amazing leader to address for you. But I have a question for you. A couple of them. No, this is something I think is going to be beneficial to everybody. Okay. And I know it would certainly benefit me. And y'all open up by saying, that you're one of the greatest leaders in the community, right? And
Dude.
I know, listen, and let me tell you the reason why. And the reason why I say that is because I know the position that you're in. I know the work, the hard work that you do. And I'm very grateful that whenever I have picked up the phone to give you a call, you always answer the phone. Always answer the phone. I don't even do that for people. But always answer the phone. But there have been some times where you have answered the phone and I said, hey, what are you up to? And you begin to tell me, ba, 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 ba. And sometimes it takes my breath away. And I remember sometimes because of the nature of the work that you have to do, I get off the phone and I have to take a deep breath. And I know sometimes in my stresses and the work that I do, nowhere near, the work that you're doing, but I know that we all have stressors, right? In our day-to-day work, what's going on in our life. How do you decompress from that? What do you do to relieve that stress? Like how can you check out when you get home? Because that's something that, we all would be able to do. How do you leave the office at the office? And what do you do when you go home and be with your family?
So in 2015, so prior to 2015, my personal cell was connected to my work email. So I was always working. In 2015, I made the decision to cut that off. And I was panicked because, I thought, the world's going to fall apart in the game if I'm not here. It's weird. It didn't. But I also, part of it is, so I attend Central Christian. So when you talked about,
Give her a hand, man.
yeah. So when you talked about, I think God Behind Bars, I think Central is a part of that. I started doing Pilates with my mom, and it is the hardest thing I have ever done. Because it's like on a machine. It's like, it's this whole, like, I try to explain it to my husband and he's like, well, that sounds weird. But I do a lot of Pilates, and I started working out because you're right. A lot of what we see on a daily basis is terrible. And most attorneys, the statistic is only 10% of attorneys actually go into the courtroom and do work, argue motions, do trials, all that kind of stuff. But in the district attorney's office, almost everything that we're seeing is terrible, right? Because you're seeing crime, you're surrounded by crime. So part of it was I started to work out more. And part of it is I think I have a great family and friendship. I got married later on in life, which I actually didn't think I was going to get married because I was like, no man can hold me down. But anyway, I'm kidding. It's a joke. But, I was so career driven for such a long time that I realized around 2014, 2015, I need to do something because I'm starting to get aggravated, agitated. You're just like on edge all the time. When I was on the sexual assault unit for those 2 years, I didn't realize actually how much my soul went into depression. Until what's funny is until I went to the gang unit, which people are like, what? But the sexual assault unit, you're dealing with betrayals on a different level, right? Parents that are betraying their children, step parents, priests, and yes, priests of all denominations. You're seeing those kinds of things. And so you need some place to put that, and you bury it. Because at the end of the day, you got somebody else you got to talk to. You got to deal with this person and that person and this family and that family. And you don't want to be depressed for them because they don't want to come in and be, talk to you and you're depressed. So a lot of it was working out. A lot of it is my friendships. My husband helps me out a lot, because I'll like start talking and he just goes, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. I don't think he's heard a word I said, but uh-huh. And part of it is just getting involved in other things. I had to start opening up my life to other things, traveling. I recently went to a third world country with my 16-year-old stepdaughter, and she was stunned by how she saw other people living, right? Because she's only really been in the United States. And I think it's a good reminder for me to realize that no matter how bad my life is, I'm going to be okay. Because people can live in conditions that we may find unbearable. But when I talk to those people, they're happy, right? Because they have their family around them and they're working and and I thought to myself, all these, as I call it, Summerlin problems can fall by the wayside. Because at the end of the day, I'm in a country that I love, I'm doing a profession that I enjoy, and I'm able to talk to people and reach out to people, and I'm able to develop that part of my life. The most fun that I have campaigning is talking to people, whether they agree with my opinions or not. Civil disobedience is okay.
That's right.
It's all right.
That's right.
Because that's what this country was founded on.
We got time for another question over here. And excuse me, I'm like Phil Donahue over here. And let me just make my way over here.
Okay, so my name is Madonna Martinez.
Hi, Madonna.
So I have a question. Well, actually, okay, I went through orientation today,
Okay.
but I've been out of prison for 27 years.
Okay.
Jon Ponder wasn't around then. Yeah, where was he when I needed him? But yeah, exactly. I know.
Oh,
So, but I came to orientation today. I mean, I have my life together and stuff, but something happened where I can't. My son and my godson, And I always refer, because I have very good friends, I always say, Hope for Prisoners, go. I own a house right behind this building, like directly behind it. So my godson and my son got in trouble, and they're facing major felony charges.
Uh-oh.
So I walk in, I speak to Carolyn over there. She said, Hope for second chances. So I'm just like, I was listening to her. So I go to court with my godson.
Mhm.
I take the card. I tell the attorney, look, first time ever in trouble. You're trying to give him a B felon. He didn't do the crime. Yes, he was there, association by guilty by association, but give him, a wobbler, do probation. After he completes it, gross misdemeanor, ain't happening. He's like, I said, okay, well, I have this card, and there's a group called Hope, Second Chances, Hope for Second Chances. Can you, let the DA know that this child, been in foster care all his life, my godson. And well, so he goes and he tells the DA, and the DA's like, well, we don't know about that. And it's going to be a while, and we haven't even got that far yet, but he's getting ready to get sentenced. You're giving him, you're trying for probation, but if not, he's getting a 1 to 4. Just turned 19. So then what my son, his charges are way more serious. He's never been in trouble. They both have mental health issues.
Mhm.
And so I actually work for an attorney, Stephen Park. And I, when I got out of trouble, I became a bail bonds for like 17 years.
Good for
But then
you.
I came disabled my legs and stuff. But so then I go to the attorney, Ryan. Okay, Hope for Second Chances. My son's only 19. He's never had a felony. Like, they're trying to give him some serious time for some accusations
Mhm.
that, and the, anyways. So they're not like me, Jennifer Tagliati. I fought the habitual because I've been out for 27 years, but I did get in trouble 17 years ago.
Mhm.
But Jennifer Tagliati, the judge, hopefully you'll come on, she said, Miss Martinez, I'm going to give you a chance. And they don't give us, like you said earlier, the problem is they don't give us felons opportunities because we're felons. They think, oh, they're just going to keep doing it. But I'm a prime example. So I went to orientation today because to be an example, you got to show an example.
That's right.
So I brought both of my son and my godson. I said, you need to do this because where are you going to be at 56? You know what I'm saying? I only have 4 years clean in 19 days, but I've been out of prison and out of trouble.
Well, good for you.
And the mental health issues very serious right now. These young kids are really, because I know my son told me if I go to prison, my mom would commit suicide, and my godson too. And we need to help them.
I know about Hope for Second Chances. I put the first person in Hope for Second Chances. I put multiple people in Hope for Second Chances. And in fact, Jon had a presentation at the courthouse for defense attorneys. And so, I decided to go because I love Jon. Right. So I walk in there and I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at the guy that's with Jon. I'm like, I know that guy from someplace, right? Because I see a lot of people. So the first thing I'm like, cop, witness, victim. Like you do this whole thing. And now I'm like, did I meet them at an event? And what is their name? Because, there's nothing like, they're like, hi, Danielle. And you're like, hi. Thinking, who is this person?
That's what I know from.
So I didn't realize that it was actually somebody that I put in Hope for Second Chances. And he came up to me and he said, I want to thank you for the opportunity. And I was, first of all, blown away. Okay. And what I said to him is, you don't have to thank me because I didn't do the work. You did the work. So thank you for doing the work. Thank you for making the choice to do better and to make better choices in your life. Hope for Second Chances is a pre-trial program. I don't think there's anything like it in the country. Of course, I've never
Say it
traveled.
one more time.
Yes, ma'am.
Hope for Second Chances. Hope for Second Chances is a program that is unlike any other in the country. It is something that was worked out between Jon Ponder and Steve Wolfson. I only know part of the screening process, right? So in our office, we just essentially give a name, and then Nell Christensen from our office works through all of the stuff, because, we don't do all of that. It is a program like no other. My prayer is that it is more successful than any other program we have out there, only because, right? Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, right? As a young person, I made bad decisions. It didn't cross over into a line that other people had, but it essentially does for them what happened to me, right? But it's within a program that you have guidelines, the district attorneys are involved. I don't know where you got your interview people, but they are fabulous. And they will call people to the carpet like, hey, we let you in the program, what's going on? Which is what I actually spoke to a defendant. I'm like, listen, everybody in this room, from the judge to myself to the defense attorney, wants you to be successful. The only person that doesn't want it at this point is you. We need you to make the choice. If you're not going to, that's fine. We will put somebody else in the program. But it is, the whole room is waiting for you.
Some of the district attorneys over here, I was in court and I was there, and he was like, we're not there yet, and right now that's not even an option. Why isn't it?
I don't know, because I'm not the
No,
DM.
I know, I
Okay.
understand. I'm just saying, I'm
Well,
gonna
that's-
keep fighting. I'll be
yeah.
in court every day. I don't care.
That's good.
'Cause
Good
I'm
job. Give her a
I'm
hand for
fight
that.
to
She's
be
a fighter.
justice.
Thank
And that's why, and we'll come over to you 1 second, but I got the mic right. But that's why it's so important with the programs like Hope for Second Chances and, our partnership with District Attorney's Office. But our conversations with people who come through Hope for Second Chances, or people who we have an opportunity to go to the parole board for and ask the parole board if they will grant them parole and make Hope for Prisoners a condition of their parole,
Right.
or if someone's coming out of CCDC or Nevada Department of Corrections, we always try to instill them, there's leadership principles to let them know that they're a leader. What they're going to do after that, right, could, number one, mess it up for themselves, but more importantly, mess it up for the next person
Right.
that's going before that parole board, that's going before that judge to see if he can be a candidate for Hope for Second Chances. So we just want to make sure that we're encouraging people that once they get out, when they make the decision to live their life by a higher standard,
Right.
then there are other people in the world around them who are going to benefit by that.
It's the concept of paying it forward.
Absolutely.
There were a lot of female attorneys before me that paved the road for me. My hope is that I can be a brick along that road for somebody else.
That is so good. Give her a hand for that. and then with that answer, you ready to go? Because we're just
No.
So listen, with that being said, right? And you being, a forerunner, right? There was a question that got dropped into the chat line. It might be a
Okay.
little tough question.
Uh-oh.
But what are your feelings, formerly incarcerated people becoming attorneys? That was a question in the chat.
So there actually were people. One of them was an attorney. His name was Norm Reed. He actually went to federal prison. I think he was convicted of 15 counts of conspiracy for something. I'm not sure. I don't have. Oops. Sorry. I'm sure everybody just went. I don't have a problem with people that are attorneys, that want to go through the process of law school, pass the bar and go through it. Look, it is a difficult process. I don't think that your criminal record should hold you back when you've paid your debt to society. The difficult thing, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, Jordan, is going through the state licensing procedures, right? That's a difficult process. It just is. It was difficult for me. I mean, you had to fill out the paperwork. I was like, why do you care when I had a speeding ticket last? I don't even remember, but I had to get my driving abstract from every state that I was licensed. And it's I'm going to say this, which will get me in trouble. It's bureaucracy checklist, right? You got to check the box. But if you want to play in that sandbox, you got to play by those rules. So I don't have a problem with it. I actually think that sometimes there's people that are in the practice of law that are criminal. Just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. But I think it's good, right? The law needs, like everything else in this world, we need everybody to be a part of the pie, right? We are losing a place in our history, I think, where we're not able to disagree when we have discussions. It's okay that nobody agrees with what I have to say. It's okay, but if you can be respectful and I can be respectful, hopefully we're going to get someplace.
That's right. That is so good. Thank you so very much for
Yeah.
that. I hope that answered the questions. And one final question before we go. I don't want to miss this opportunity.
Uh-oh.
As you know that we are entering into our, for the month of August, our summer of healing. And throughout our summer of healing, we kind of highlight our partnerships that we have with law enforcement, not only with the district attorney's office, and we have a fabulous relationship with the district attorney's office, law enforcement, not only with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, we're working very closely with Metro, but with parole and probation, with highway patrol, with Nevada Department of Corrections, right? And I think that this model that we have is one of a kind to the country. Right, one of a kind to the nation, and we're going to be doing some things to put that on display throughout the month of August. In your position, how important is it to be able to have law enforcement agencies come together with working with the community the way we do?
We would not be able to be successful in any program without having community partners, and especially law enforcement. Mostly because law enforcement, whether you agree with how they police or not, are essentially the structure by which most of us kind of operate, right? And I think if you can understand that basis and you can understand their thought process and they can understand your thought process, I think that partnership is something that is immeasurable. The value is immeasurable. So at the end of the day, I was a little bit nervous about coming here because I'm a gang prosecutor. And most people will look at me and be like, I bet I know how she's going to be, right? Or there may be somebody in Casa Grande that I put in prison who may be like, oh, she says that, but that's not how she really is. So law enforcement, I think, is also nervous and apprehensive at times because nobody wants to be rejected, right? Nobody wants to be rejected. Everybody wants to be able to work things out. Law enforcement, most of them can be confrontational. We've all seen that, right? They have that ability to do that in their toolbox, but nobody wants to be rejected. So I think the partnerships that you have created are invaluable to this community. I think most people don't understand that because they don't understand this level of what you're doing. Because most people don't come into contact with the criminal justice system, but for a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or something like that. Vast majorities of people don't come into contact with the system. So they don't understand the work. They don't understand the value. They don't understand your struggle. And I think it is until they understand that they too will become partners. The first model or the first group, I think, is law enforcement because, as I said, to me, they're part of that structure, right? Once they buy in and you buy in, essentially now I think you can move up the ladder. You can get more politicians and more people and more people that are gonna buy into what is happening in these rooms and the programs that you have started.
Thank you so very, very
Yeah.
much for that. Can we
Thank
give
you.
Danielle a gigantic round of applause? Was there somebody over in Casa Grande? You had a question?
Hello. Glory to God, first of all. Thank you. Glory, what is it, Gabrielle or? Danielle. All right. Nice to have you on. Hope for Prisoners is a great family. And I was listening, and I heard that you were in the system. You're working. With your law. Somebody who God put to watch over. To maintain ordinance, because he said he put the law there for us to, be obedient. But you guys you carry your sword to execute if you need to, but you also reward those who do good. So I stand firm in my faith with God. So if I have to be obedient now to God, and that would be help me be a better person, you know. Because if I oppose God, I know that I'll be back in the type of place or dead and dying in my sin, you know. And I don't want to do that, and I don't want anyone else to do that. I was just asking. I have a question to ask. My name is Wilson Garcia, by the way, and I just want to ask: is there a way to have our records sealed? Because if we changed our life, then it's good to have our records sealed. How do we go about doing that? Is there a roadblock from that, or is it for everyone?
So there is a way to have your record sealed. I am not on the team that does that, but I know that you can contact the court. I don't know if I can look at him or look through the camera. What's easier? Okay. So I know that you can probably call the courts. I would call Justice Court. And of course, I don't have the number off the top of my head. Justice Court usually, or if you go down there, in the courtrooms, the bailiffs will hand out paperwork that talk about sealing records. I'm not familiar with those statutes, to be honest with you, so I can't advise you, as well as because I'm a member of the district attorney's office, we can't advise people on that. Or I would say contact your attorney, but I think you'd be faster and quicker to just go down to the courthouse and ask for that paperwork in Justice Court.
Yep. Congratulations. Thank you. God bless.
Oh, thank you. Same to you.
Hey, Wilson, before you go, the other thing that you do, can we give Danielle a big, gigantic round of applause? You know, Wilson, the other thing that you can do, you can contact your Hope of Prisoners case manager. We get you connected with Nevada Legal Services that we can, they can, in our partnership with them, walk you guys through that partnership. And, you know, I have to tell you, right, why it's in my opinion, why those partnerships are so important, right? Those partnerships in the community are so important, and why we're really excited about our Summer of Healing, bringing law enforcement in together. And let me tell you a reason why I started doing this, right? Many years ago, when I came home from prison, you know, when somebody is in prison and they're there for any significant period of time, right? After that person comes home, they say that that person is institutionalized because of the way that they've done their time, because of the infrastructure of a prison system. And if you live in that infrastructure long enough, then they say you become institutionalized, which is why when people come home, it's hard for them to get reacclimated because they have been institutionalized. What I discovered when I came home from prison was that the community itself had become institutionalized. That this is the way that we've always treated formerly incarcerated people. We kept them at a distance. They had become institutionalized. And one of the greatest teachers that ever walked the face of the planet Earth was this guy named Jesus. And he taught about the parable of the wineskin. And in this parable of the wineskin, what Jesus said was, you cannot take new wine and pour it into old wineskin, because the old wineskin lacks the flexibility and is too rigid for the new wine to ferment and grow. And see, that illustrates the challenge that we had in reentry all over this country. We were coming up with these great ideas, and this is what we were going to do with these people from this segment of the population. And we're going to do this and do that. And what they were doing, they were taking these fantastic ideas that they had, and we're dumping it into an old antiquated wineskin called the community. And this is why it's so important that we bring in our collaborating partners. And I use two words, listen, unprecedented partnerships, working together like never before. This is why it's important to bring Nevada Department of Corrections in on one page. This is why it's so important to bring parole and probation to the table, and they're on one page. This is why it's so important to bring the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department together on one page. This is why you have to have the district attorneys and the courts and the employers, and together, watch this, we become the very fabric of that new wineskin. And this is why people always say, you know, what's the key to the success? And sometimes when people even ask me, export the model all over the country. The only way that I'm going to go is you're going to need to bring the collaborating partners to the table so that we can all be on the same page, or it ain't going to work. We're going to be highlighting those things throughout the month of August in our partnership with law enforcement. The first thing that we're going to be doing is on August 5th. Everybody say August 5th. Right here in our building, we are going to be inviting the children of our clients, those men and women who are sitting in Casa Grande right now, just like we did the 100 Christmases. We're inviting their families, their kids, their guardians to bring the kids right here to this building so we can bless them with some back to school stuff, right? We're honored to be able to do that when we're going to have Sheriff Joel Lombardo out here that's going to be handing those things out. That's on August 5th. Now I want everybody to say August 6th. And on August 6th, we're getting together at the Aviators baseball stadium, and we're going to be playing, and we're going to be watching baseball. And we're inviting clients out, and the men and women, our partners from law enforcement, to come and join us where we eat hot dogs and all that stuff like normal people are supposed to do. It's going to be an evening. I know the kids are going back to school, but this is an opportunity for our clients to get together and let life rub up against life with the men and women from law enforcement. And let me say this before this district attorney lady walks out this room. And this goes for all people in law enforcement. And I see some retired police officers here in this room, and I love it. If you look out across the country, people don't trust law enforcement, right? They don't trust law enforcement. But let me tell you the reason why they don't trust law enforcement. It's because they're not in relationship with law enforcement. What relationship could you ever have trust unless there's life rubbing up against life in the spirit of complete transparency? We have more in common than we have in difference, right? So it's that life rubbing up against life, me getting to know Danielle, she works with the prosecutor, but getting to know her and what she put on display here, you get to know who she is, and that life rubbing up against life and the spirit of complete transparency. Out of that transparency, establish a relationship. And then out of that relationship, trust is born. Does that make sense? So again, this is the reason why we're doing what it is we're doing. So above and beyond the baseball game on August 10th, everybody say August 10th. And August 10th, we are going to, you go to our website and check it out for those of you online. We're going to be having a softball game with our people and the men and women from law enforcement. Life rubbing up against life in the spirit of complete transparency. And there's going to be hot dogs and hamburgers. Pastor Willie Charity's coming out there. It's going to be barbecuing. Brian went out and spent way too much money and got an ice cream truck for all the kids. We got Pink Box Donut coming out to bring some donuts for the kids. And we're just going to get out there and have some fun. And we're going to show it, because I know people online watch right now. We want to show you how we do it right here in the great state of Nevada with our friends from law enforcement. Then on August 17th, say August 17th. Say it like it means. Say August 17th. What we're going to do is we're going to have a transparency and law enforcement session right here in this building. And let me tell you the reason why that's so important. Because, as we develop our relationship with the men and women from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, a lot of times you don't have a space to be able to, as they're mentoring and training, you don't have a space to vent your wrongs, right? Because that's not an opportunity for you able to do that. You're mentoring, so forth and so on. But what we're doing is bringing the people from the internal affairs here Hands down, ask any question that you want. You feel like you've been wronged by a police officer? You want to ask why do they do things the way that they do? We're bringing in the top guns to answer that question, and hopefully up out of that, in those conversations, if you're dealing with something, and listen, the healing will work on both sides. It's the summer of healing. August 17th. Please make sure you go to our website at hopeforprisons.org and register. And then on August 19th, everybody say August 19th. On August 19th, we're going to be having another graduation ceremony at the headquarters of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. No, you got to say it like you mean it. Say the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. And we're going to have this graduation. It's going to be about 30 men and women who are going to be transitioning out. I know many of the men and women are in that room right now. And they're going to be graduating. So I'm going to ask you guys to do is make sure you come out and show your support for them. So we're expecting you guys to be out there. And there's a lot of other things on the website, but I'm not going to talk to you about it. You got to go to the website and check it out. But it is the summer of healing. It's something that we're doing that we're going to put on display. Number one, what God is doing with the men and women in law enforcement and, with us working here at Hope for Prisoners. Does that make sense? Now, I know that somebody over here had a question real quick.
Madonna?
I went to prison for 4 years, and when I got out, I thought I had it all together. Like my man said, but I still, was messing up, And I went back to jail, but not all the DAs are, messed up. They just, you got to be patient.
No, I know they're not all messed up.
Right.
I'm not saying they're messed up, but all I was saying was, for a young person at 18 or 19, never had a record, never been in trouble, I went to prison 3 times, got out, got a wobbler, gross misdemeanor.
Right.
I just, 17 years ago, I beat the Habitual Criminal Act. But a 18-year-old and a 19-year-old has never been in trouble. You are ruining their lives by giving them a felony. Give them a chance.
You gotta be patient.
No, trust me.
But
I've been a bail
right.
for 17 years, and I've worked for 5 attorneys.
Yeah. Let me share this with you, and I appreciate that. And you're 100%.
I understand. Law enforcement's not bad.
Right. You're 100% right when you talk about being patient. Right. Got to be patient, right? And you have to trust God. Sometimes when people call me up and they say, "Hey, listen, I know you got hope for second chances, and my son just got my brother, my husband got locked up, my wife is locked up, and can see what you can do to help out." Before I move, I always pray. Listen, before I move, before I direct my staff to do anything, I always pray and I take it to the Lord. Let me tell you the reason why. I remember when I got locked up and I was, strung out on dope, everything like that, right? And the guy that was prosecuting me in the beginning, I hated him. I thought he was my enemy, right? Didn't want anything to do with him, right? Surrendered my life to the Lord, gave everything to the Lord, and just whatever the case would be, right? And let God take it, whatever it is. If you can give me 10 years or you can give me 50 years, I got that coming to me. I got it coming to me. But what happened was, when I got the time that I got, before I got sentenced, this prosecutor right here, man, I'm begging this dude, give me a year. Man, let me just lay down. This is my 3rd rib. I'm praying that he can give me a year. And man, just give me 2 years or whatever the case be. And then I got broke off. But in my sentence, right, I'm in the maximum security United States Federal Penitentiary, right? Surrendered my life to the Lord. I remember I'm 4 years into it, and I was sitting on the side of my bunk, weeping, thanking God that judge didn't give me a year. Listen, I'm 4 years into it, and I'm thanking God that judge didn't give me a year. I'm thanking God that he didn't give me 2. I'm thanking God on my face while I'm in prison that he didn't give me 3 years. I'm glad I didn't get 4. I am very grateful that I had patience, that I trusted God and knew whatever time I got was the exact time that God needed me to turn my life around. If I, right? If I would have walked out in court, they said, okay, you OR, go home. I could be dead right now or someone else. Are you following me? So I think, again, when we find ourselves in a situation like that, we take a deep breath. We have to trust God, know and understand that he has a Jeremiah 29:11 plan for my life. And right. No, I understand, but we have to understand. Right. So if God got it, right, Jeremiah 29:11 says that he has a plan for my life. Wait a minute. It's a plan for my life, and the plan is not to harm me. It's not to harm me. If I get 10 pieces of McNugget up out of here, I know that it's not to harm me. Because Romans 8:28-29 says all things. It doesn't say some things. It said, regardless, all things work together for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So as long as I climb up into that, it don't even matter what happens, right? If I got 10, 20, whatever the case would be, if I'm totally surrendered to him, surrender to him. Let me tell you a quick story real fast. I hate to get up here and start preaching to you, but I got to. When you're totally surrendered to God, let me tell you what that looks like. Can you tell you what it looks like? Many, many years ago, when I was doing my thing, I had this love for jewelry, right? I'm in the streets doing my thing. I had the love for jewelry. I had rings and diamonds on every one of my fingers, right? Big gold. Remember the LL Cool J thing, right? With the big rope. I had this love for jewelry. And I'm out in the streets doing my thing, and I'm hustling. I had a friend of mine who was in the game too. And we used to do this thing that as men do. We compare and compete. We compare. So whenever I came up on something, I go over there, man, look what I got, bang! Mine's is bigger than yours. And we was doing this thing back and forth, right? Comparing and competing. And then one day, I go to him, and I just had something on. I was like, man, check this out. And he said, man, that's pretty good, man. Where you get your jewelry from? And what I did, because I didn't want to tell him I was getting it, how I was getting it, I lied to him. And I had to think real fast and said, you know what? I get my jewelry from Jacobs the jeweler. I get my jewelry from Michael E. Mendon's. And when I said that to him, he started laughing at me. And I'm like, man, Jacob's the jeweler, Michael E. Mendon, that's big name too, right? And he's laughing, hysterical, crying, everything like that. And then I said, well, where you get your jewelry from? And this guy said to me, man, I get my jewelry from the pawn shop. And I was like, the pawn shop? Ha! So I laughing. Michael, a minute, get you laughing and everything. But he's stone faced. He's not laughing. And I said, the pawn shop? What do you mean the pawn shop? He said, yeah, I get my jewelry from the pawn shop. And he said, let me explain to you how a pawn shop works. He said, you live in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is the pawn shop capital of the world. He said, people come here from all over the world and they spend every dime that they got in their pocket. Everything they got. They tap out every credit card. They're calling family members to get money and they're chasing money. They can't get it back when they're completely cut off. That's when that guy takes that $20,000 Rolex. This ain't no Rolex. This guy takes this $20,000 Rolex watch off and he goes over into a pawn shop and then he pawns his watch. And the pawn shop's not going to give him $25,000 for it. The pawn shop is going to give him about $5,000, $8,000, whatever the case may be. He walks out with $2,000. He got the cash. He's chasing, and he walks out of the pawn shop with a ticket to redeem what he just put in the pawn shop. And the pawn shop is praying that you don't come back. Right? Because now they get to take it. The guy doesn't come back. Then the pawn shop takes it, what was his, and then he does whatever he do. You sell it, they jewelry, they melt it down, they turn it into whatever it is that they turn it into. Now listen, because the guy, right, comes in and leaves the watch in there or that piece of jewelry in there, and he doesn't get it back, he has no more claims to this thing. Stay with me. He's got no more claims to this. The jeweler can take it and do whatever it is that he wants to do. And when the jeweler now owns it, this is when my friend would come in and he would purchase it. He'd pay big money and he'd get it. And he has redeemed this up out of the pawn shop. And now it belongs to my friend. That's the same way the kingdom of God works. Because when my soul was in the pawn shop of this world, and I couldn't get myself out. In stepped my friend. Who redeemed me. But the Bible says they didn't redeem me with money and gold and silver. The Bible says that he stepped in and redeemed me with his blood.
Yes.
So it's no longer I who live. I'm not even mine. And when he redeemed me, he gets to do whatever he wants to do with me. I'm no longer mine. He can take me, fashion me, shape me into whatever it is, because I'm to be used for his purpose. And Galatians 5:20 says it's no longer Jon Ponder who lives, but Christ lives in me. And then it goes on to say that the life that I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who gave his life for me. He gave his life for you, and for you, and for you. So those of us who has that surrendered, it's no longer mine. Now I must move into a place where I have to 100% trust God with everything.
Yes.
Knowing that he knows better than I do.
Yes, sir.
He's the only one who could look down the corridors of time because he created it and knows exactly what it is that I need. But always making sure that I'm staying in that place where I trust him.
Yes.
Now listen, I didn't mean to just preach. Yes, I did. And I'm going to ask the case manager to get up and pass the bucket down the aisle because we're going to take an offering. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But listen, I just want to thank you guys so very much. For those of you who want to participate in the Summer of the Healings, we'd love to be able to have you come out and participate with that. Can you guys give my dear friend Danielle Pieper Chio a gigantic round of applause? Did I not tell you guys she's one of the greatest leaders in the community? Let me see if I can do this. What I want everybody to do on the count of 3, I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Say, Danielle Pieper Chio. 1, 2, 3.
Danielle Pieper Chio.
Let's do it just one more time. Danielle, thank you so much for coming out. We want to thank you guys out on Facebook land for joining us here tonight. I hope that we got to all your questions and answered those questions on there. Want to say thank you to our family in Casa Grande. Give them a big jacket again for joining us. And remember the events that we have coming up. And thank you guys so much very much for coming out. Have a good night, and we will see you next week.